Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Fedrick. Host Eddie Fedrick.
Welcome to Caribbean Perspective. So glad you can join us. The story that takes a lead in today's edition for Monday, 19th August 2024, and brought to you in association with our friends at Antillean Group. The expulsion of the President and General Secretary of Barbados' opposition Democratic Labour Party, the DLP, under the microscope. Details after this important message.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all, perils big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so clear to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
Welcome back. Former Democratic Labour Party General Secretary Steve Blackett is calling for the membership of the party to reject a decision of the General Council to expel him as well as the former President Dr. Ronnie Yearwood from the DLP. Mr. Blackett says he feels slighted after being given his walking papers by what he says is just 33 members during a special Zoom meeting of the Council. He made the remarks during the Let's Talk About It radio program on Q100.7 FM. Mr. Blackett says he was overwhelmingly supported by the general members during the last executive elections. He says he will not be challenging the expulsion and is waiting to hear what the general membership has to say.
The membership of this party must rise up in indignation to what happened last night and what has been happening over the last 6 months, because it is a travesty what is happening in this party with the grouping that is there, and this is an illegal grouping who have formed themselves together. I call them a cabal. Wow. Who have formed themselves together to object to everything that the elected leadership of this party has done since in 2022, when in May 2022, when Ronnie was elected as the president. They have been pushing back. They've been bringing all kinds of resolutions and all kinds of motions to discommode and derail the elected leadership of this party. This has been handled by the executive council members and the general council members. You know who has not had a say in this episode, in this saga, in this fiasco since February? The general membership of this party. This is why I'm glad that what is happening now is coming on the cusp of the annual conference. This is the first time in this debacle that the general membership will have a say in this matter. They have been shut out. They have been ignored. They have been shunted aside. This is their opportunity. This is why I'm saying that I will not lift a finger to challenge anything that happened last night in that kangaroo court. I will leave it to the general membership of this party.
Political scientist Peter Wickham, meantime, is surprised by the ruling of the General Council of the Democratic Labour Party to expel former President Dr. Ronnie Yearwood and former General Secretary Steve Blackett. The decision, which was made and announced, comes after both men were on suspension. Mr. Wickham notes the fallout from this development will affect the party's chances of returning to government. More in the CBC news clip.
The suggestion that they would have been disciplined has been made for a long time. However, I think that the expulsion is regrettable. I've gone on record as saying that I think that Steve Blackett has behaved in a way that warrants expulsion, quite frankly. But my views with Yearwood are somewhat different because I think that Yearwood's conversation and his messages and so on could have been managed for an integration of him back into the situation and the Democratic Labour Party. But more importantly, for him as a politician, I think that he has a future in politics, and I believe that after the next election, the Democratic Labour Party would need Yearwoods and people like Yearwood, bright young people with a political future, to be able to shape their politics going forward. Many people are concerned about the impact that this will have on the DLP's ability to fight the next election. My sense is that the DLP is pretty much toast and Ralph Thorne in the next election anyhow. But I felt the morning after would have been considerably brighter if there were some young people that were there to pick up the pieces and march the Democratic Labour Party forward. That is all in jeopardy now. The other aspect of it is that this idea of removing people from the party is not a popular thing. People are generally not removed from either political party. And over the years, you can count on one hand the number of instances in which it has happened in Barbados and across the region.
Barbadians have been sharing their views on the former President Dr. Ronnie Yearwood and former General Secretary Steve Blackett's dismissal from the DLP. Let's hear what they have to say.
I think it is wrong, and they should never have done that. And I don't think they should ever get back in power again. Never vote for the Democratic again. Yeah? They should have never done that to Rodney. Never.
I don't like it at all. I don't feel it is right. I feel whatever they do, they should put these two men in place for something, fit them in. That ain't right, and that isn't just to these two men, Dr. Ronnie Yearwood and Steve Blackett, that did so much to the party.
That party's in a lot of disarray, and they're going to get rid of those factions from the party if they want to go forward, because it's an uphill battle for them already, and they're only making matters worse.
They need to get their house in order. Yeah, and it's a real crying shame that such a great party, established by the great leader of a father of independence, the great Walter Arrow Barrow, in this time 2024 could be in such disarray when it comes to leadership.
They will still get beat in the next two elections. They get beat for 10 more years. They'll be beaten. So it doesn't make any difference.
Well, the expulsion of Steve Blackett and Ronnie Yearwood from the DLP party, I think is a bit unfortunate. And I think that the party needs to solidify and take the dirty linen out of the streets, out of the public, come together. You know, at this time in Barbados, we're looking for the more figureheads and the egos, the status quo. We're looking for people with good testicular fortitude to lead this country.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick,
in association with our friends at
Antilian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Young Democrats Stephen Newton maintains the decision by the Democratic Labour Party to expel Dr. Ronnie Yearwood and Steve Blackett was illegally constituted, therefore rendering the decision null and void. He says the provision of suspension does not exist under the DLP's constitution as it stands, and further, the General Council is not the body to make any disciplinary decisions on behalf of the party.
I and the Young Democrats are of the view that we will not, absolutely not, respect the decision flowing from last week's meeting on an expulsion. We must have a total reset to the position of February, where Mr. Ralph Thorne was accepted as our political leader, Dr. Ronnie Yearwood was our president, and Mr. Stephen Blackett was our general secretary. And our business is to be resolved internally and in a civilized and mature manner.
The presidents of Brazil and Colombia called on Thursday for fresh elections in Venezuela after last month's disputed victory by Nicolas Maduro, a proposal quickly rejected by the opposition, who slammed the strongman for blocking political transition. France 24 English reports.
He's known for his close relations with his Venezuelan counterparts, but Colombia's President Gustavo Petro has echoed calls to start afresh in Venezuela, suggesting new free elections as part of solutions to end the country's intensifying political crisis. Venezuela's electoral authority declared Maduro the presidential election winner last month, despite the opposition party's published vote tallies showing a victory. The United Nations has since raised the alarm over a wave of repression in the country after a deadly crackdown on protests contesting the results, leaving scores killed, dozens injured, and over 1,000 people arrested. Venezuela's other neighbor, Brazil, is also in agreement for a new vote.
If Maduro were sensible, he would try to appeal to the people of Venezuela, perhaps even organize new elections, establish criteria for all candidates to participate, create a multi-party election committee in which everyone participates, and let observers from around the world watch the elections.
Maduro, though, has rejected these international weigh-ins, saying Venezuela didn't involve itself when Brazil and the US also had contested elections.
Venezuela has sovereignty. It is an independent country with a constitution and institutions, and the conflicts that exist in Venezuela are resolved between Venezuelans, with their institutions, with their law, with their constitution. I do not practice microphone diplomacy.
Since coming into power in 2013, Maduro's rule has overseen an economic collapse that saw an 80% drop in the country's GDP. And over 7 million Venezuelans have fled the country, according to the UN.
The Venezuelan court, meantime, has issued a final ruling on the presidential vote, declaring that all decisions are binding. More from News X Live.
Edmundo Gonzalez Urrutia has won an overwhelming majority, and they have produced what they say are official tallies from voting sites as evidence. Meanwhile, Maduro himself summoned the High Court on August 1st to validate a victory that opponents insist was fraudulent. My colleague Brian Anthony Thomas with us on the broadcast. Brian, take our viewers through the latest from Venezuela.
The ruling that now the Supreme Court will deliver on Robert Guilford on the contested president election now will be final as announced even the court's president, Carol Rodriguez during the very hearing on the July 28 vote on Saturday. Now, yes, Rodriguez also stated that the court is continuing the assessment that began on August 25th, 2024 with the aim of seeing a final ruling. And the decisions are final and binding. And even to the fact that most observers also believe the High Court is loyal to President Nicolas Maduro's government, which has claimed a narrow victory in the election. Now, also another very important point that to be noted is opposition leaders also argued that the candidate, Edmundo Gonzalez Urrutia, won by a wide margin, and they have presented what they assert are official tallies from voting sites are proof. Now, Maduro also summoned the High Court on August 1st to validate what opponents, insist was a fraudulent victory. Now, this week also the court had heard testimony from all the candidates, including Maduro, except for Gonzalez Urrutia, who had said 6 years arrest. Even Gonzalez Urrutia also has not had any public appearance in over a week, while prominent opposition leader Maria Corina Machado also, who is a former presidential candidate barred from running this time, also stated that she is living in hiding. Even National Electoral Council, that is the CAG, has also ratified Maduro's victory on August 2nd, claiming he won 52% of the vote, but he declined to receive tallies from election sites, citing a hacking incident. And in contrast to that, the opposition also published printed tallies which Maduro denies are legitimate, showing that Gonzalez Urrutia with 67% of the vote. And now definitely the opposition and many observers argue that the alleged hacking of the results is a government fabrication to avoid publishing the election document. Yes, we are.
Over to Trinidad and Tobago, where TTT reports that one man must now ask for additional forgiveness from God following a mid-morning robbery in Port of Spain.
The Catholic Archdiocese of Port of Spain has confirmed that around 10 a.m. on Thursday, an alleged bandit sought refuge at the Holy Rosary Church and disguised himself in a priest's garments in an attempt to evade police custody. The suspect is reported to have been fleeing from members of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service after crashing a stolen van into a police vehicle on the corner of Park and Henry Streets. He was arrested when found hiding in the sacristy. TTT News understands police recovered the vehicle, a firearm, cash, and other stolen items. Footage following the incident was shared on social media.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean.
In the meantime, please follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for daily regional news and more, in association with our friends at Antillian Group.
believe in our strength. We'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give. It's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's a service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antilian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.